Hi friends, welcome to the Anime Book Club podcast. I'm your host, DJ Montague.
And I'm your host, Greg. And here we review anime from classics to brand new stuff, hidden gems, and controversial favorites.
You'll hear all of our hot takes, rants,
and genius observations. So thanks for tuning in, and buckle up because the episode starts now.
By the way, friends, these episodes contain spoilers, so be careful and don't ruin this anime for yourself. You've been warned. Welcome to the Anime Book Club podcast. I'm your co-host, DJ Montague.
Hold on, I was looking up something.
What is so... What's interesting, Greg? What are you looking up? You got to explain it.
I wanted to be funny. Okay, we're going to do the intro, and then I was going to do the introduction that our boy DL does normally for a stream.
I literally have it written down.
Well, I didn't know that, and now it's too late.
I have it written down.
Surprise is done. No, it's over now.
We cut this out.
No, we keep everything.
Okay. No.
It's okay. My name's Greg. I'm not Veltol, Velvet, Velvast.
I have it open right now. He says, "Avaricious mortals, behold and tremble, for I am the demon lord Veltol Velvet Velsvalt, and I shall grant you the finest moment of your finite lives. Let the chaos reign." That's how you start a stream every day.
But we didn't, so...
Hey, I got it though. Welcome everybody. It's good to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking us out on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts if you're tuning in there, or on YouTube or wherever you're from. We appreciate you all. Today, we're talking about episode 4 and 5 of Ranma Half, episode 3 and 4 of Demon Lord, episode 4 and 5 of Bleach 1000-Year Blood War, and episode 4 and 5 of DANDADAN. You're looking at any particular episode, and you're like, I didn't watch that yet, or any anime, and you don't want to spoil it for you, that's the order they're going to go in, and so you can avoid getting spoiled. Appreciate you being here. Greg, how's your day going?
A day like any other.
But it's filled with anime.
It's filled with anime, and it's filled with anime conventions.
Oh, yeah. Greg went to
Yhwach out in Detroit. Yhwach 2024.
Yeah.
At the Huntington Place, formerly known as Kobo Center. Last week, so actually it was a 4-day event, technically. It goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big Detroit event. It's been going on for like 19 years, I think.
Damn.
Days before, I was just going to Costco.
Mm-hmm.
I was wearing the 2023 Yhwach shirt.
Okay.
And I walked out of Costco. I have my cart. I have my groceries.
Yeah.
The Costco cart guy stopped me, and he's like, "Hey, nice shirt." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Have you been before?" He's like, "Yhwach?" He's like, "No, I want to go." And I was like, "Man, you should go." And then he told me the story how he dressed up for Halloween as Kakashi, and his little boy was Naruto, and they were cosplaying together.
That's awesome.
You should go to Yhwach because there's going to be a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
And then on my way to Yhwach, I stopped at a coffee chain, and I went through the drive-thru of the coffee chain, ordered my drink, get up to the window to pay, and I was wearing my JJK hat, your favorite hat in the world. But I was also wearing Chainsaw Man t-shirt. The barista was like, "Hey, I really like your hat. I love JJK." I was like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah, I have like a Maki tattoo on my calf." I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy.
Let's fucking go, dude."
And he was like, "Man, like, and your Chainsaw Man shirt's sick too." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm heading over to Yhwach." And he's like, "Oh man, I really want to go, but I have to work all weekend."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Man, it lasts until midnight. You can buy a day pass."
Yeah.
And I think you'd really like it. I just think that there's like anime lovers everywhere. Oh yeah, when I was in line at Costco, the actual, what do you call the dudes that scan your stuff and then you pay them?
Cashier?
Yes.
By the way, if you're listening on Spotify, Greg immediately put his head into his hands instantaneously.
This was another day too. I think I was wearing like a different Chainsaw Man shirt. And then he's like, "Big Chainsaw Man fan, aren't you?" And I was like, I do like Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm going to Yhwach." I was like, "I'll see you there." And I saw him there. I didn't say hi.
But he was there.
He was there. I'm sure the cashier wouldn't have remembered me, so I didn't even bother saying anything. But I did see him.
I
so
think
I thought
you
that was cool.
Vastly underestimate nerds, Greg.
I don't think I underestimate. I just think it's...
Or you vastly underestimate your impact on the world, and you're like, he wouldn't remember me. He's like, hey, Chainsaw Man shirt guy. That's immediate. Like, dude, there's people that come into the bar that have worn anime stuff, and I instantly recognize them. They haven't been in like a year. I was DJing about a year and a half ago. I was wearing my Evangelion. I have a windbreaker, Evangelion windbreaker. This guy comes up to me and he's like, dude, that's a sick windbreaker. That's so cool. And I was like, oh yeah, my girlfriend got it for me. It's really awesome. It's super comfortable and it's great. Keeps me warm. And a year and a half later, he comes up and he's like, hey dude, you were that guy that was DJing when you were wearing the Evangelion windbreaker. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember you and I talked about it. That's cool. That's that interact. That was it. He didn't say like, hey, can I buy you a drink? No. It was like, boom. That was it. Your windbreaker's cool.
If he was by himself, I would have said something. But like he's with a whole group of friends.
He had like 60
so
people.
Like,
so you were like, I don't want to walk up to the main character. I'll just be over here.
I'll be Shadow, Eminence and Shadow. Just try not to be the main character. I just thought it was cool. Youmacon itself, they had panels all 4 days.
Yeah.
You know, they have like the vendor merchant area where you can go buy stuff. And obviously there's just a lot of people cosplaying in general.
Yeah.
And then after watching 2.5 Dimensional Seduction,
yeah,
I was just like, dude, I think people that cosplay are some of the like bravest people out there. Because for me personally, I don't know if I can do it. But the fact that they can put themselves out there like that, like mad respect. Like no matter how complex your cosplay is, if you're like a beginner, if you're super advanced, like there were dudes with 1-to-1 scale, like R2-D2's remote controlling them from like a drone while they're dressed as like Kylo Ren and doing backflips and shit. So I'm just like, damn. But then there's also people that kind of had like a more budget friendly cosplay than fully functioning robots.
Yeah.
I just always thought that it was cool.
It is. It is cool.
I just feel like even though I'm at the con, like I exist there. My being is there and my mind is there.
Do you feel like a tourist?
I don't feel like I belong. I feel like I am in their world.
But that's what's great about any sort of consumption of any mediums. Like as soon as you consume that medium and enjoy that medium, you are now a part of that. They can't stop you from being a part of the anime culture. Going to a con and dressing up as your favorite character is great. That's awesome. Any sort of contribution to the culture is going to be a net positive.
I just think cons in general, I think they're great. I think it's really cool that you can go to this area with like-minded individuals and everyone can indulge in the stuff that they like and not have any fear of like being judged at all. It's just like you get to go and you get to enjoy yourself. You get to dress up as your favorite character and basically just have 3 days of doing your thing and not having to worry about anything. I think cons are cool. In the future, I'd like to go to more.
We'll do the anime intros after we finish up the episode as a whole and recording. We'll give that to some people. But Greg skips intros. Awful.
Yeah, I would get a 0 out of 24. They did have a panel for the anime opening song quiz. I would literally get like an F-.
They're like, we actually have a grade below 0. Sorry, just for you specifically.
Yeah, they're just please leave the panel. Like this is a no judgment zone, but we'll make an exception for you.
This became a judgment zone as soon as you failed that bad. How are you feeling about Ranma first, then Demon Lord second, Bleach third, DANDADAN fourth?
Ranma is what every boy has done when they were young.
Okay.
I like the fact that they highlight all of those things.
Okay.
Demon Lord, I think it's really nice that they are pushing the story along. We had our fun with the streaming. Damn, he got like 1 million
subs in like 3 days.
3 his days, like 5 minutes our time.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they kind of built up the streamer thing, but it's not the focus of the story. Like right now, they're kind of shifting the focus to be a little more serious and them discovering the world that they now live in.
Yeah.
Bleach, don't get hit by those dust balls twice because you might just fucking disappear. And DANDADAN is great. I think it's the whole episode of them being in high school and seeing each other.
Yep.
I thought was a brilliant way to depict the characters' emotions. And I think any anime that is watching right now, that is how you do really good character development.
Yes, I 100% agree.
Even in not so many words. Like, it was almost like a, you know, one of those Pixar shorts where there's no words and it's just basically like music and interaction.
Like the beginning of Up?
Yeah, like the beginning of Up, 100%. And like they're able to portray how the characters feel and then make the viewers feel the same way without even like saying a word. I just think that all four, actually, no, I'm sorry. 3 out of the 4 of these animes are really good so far.
Okay. We'll get to my feelings and then we'll begin with Ranma. Ranma's cool. It's good. It's not my type of anime, but it's, you know, I get it and it's cool. Demon Lord, I am a big fan of. As a streamer, this shit just cracks me up. Avaricious Mortals, I appreciate you being here and let chaos reign. Let's fucking rip. It's great. It's a banger. Bleach is hurting my feelings right now as Kubo has decided that he wants to kick me in the balls at all times. And then DANDADAN, I think, is masterful right now. I think it's just so incredibly good. Not only do I keep saying anime intro of the year, I don't skip it. It's literally like everything. I fucking watch it every time. It's a banger. And then the episode afterward, just so good. Spoily time. Greg, Ranma, go.
Episode 4. They introduce a new character, Ryoga. Mysterious guy. Wanders around. Villagers don't know who he is, but he knows he's looking for the high school. And they're like, dude, you aren't even fucking close. Try going north. And he's like, east? Roger that. And then he just walks in the opposite direction.
Hell yeah.
And he has a grudge against Ranma. And the reason why he has this grudge is when they were in grade school or something like that, or middle school, they were supposed to duel. I think they were like 10 years old. But since Ryoga had such bad sense of direction, the place they were supposed to meet was literally next door to his house. But he got lost for 4 days, and Ranma waited for 3 of those 4 days. And then he finally found the lot next to his house after 4 days. But Ranma was gone by then.
Yeah.
And then ever since, he's held this grudge with Ranma about finishing their duel.
Such a banger. I waited for 3 days. I got lost for 4. So good.
I don't know why they initially were dueling as kids, but basically it's now his life's mission to finally have this duel with Ranma. Eventually, he does find the school, and he does confront Ranma. And Ranma initially is just like, I have no clue who this guy is.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know who the fuck you are, what you're doing here, why are you being weird?
Even though he clearly knows Ranma. So after a while, he figures it out. He's like, okay, I remember. And he kind of jumps him at the school, hands him the new duel letter, and is like, meet me behind the school next to the bike racks.
Yeah.
And Ranma's like, okay. And then Akane is like, why does this guy want to fight you so bad? And Ranma's just like, I don't know. Maybe it was that time when I got the last of the bread at school. And he almost got it, but I got it before. And then he just lists like 10 different flavors of bread, basically, that he, I guess, I don't want to say steal, but he got before Ryoga was able to get.
Yeah.
He meets him for his duel, and then he's like, Ryoga, don't worry about it. I can admit when I've wronged someone. And then he just takes out his backpack and just throws him some bread. And it's like, sorry for taking that out from under your nose. And Ryoga's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, oh, not enough? You drive a hard bargain. And then he throws him, 12 different kinds of bread. Yeah. And he's like, that's all of them I can remember. I think we're square now. Yeah. And then he's like, no, dude, like, it's not about the bread. And then they start fighting. Ryoga's a silly guy. Apparently, his umbrella weighs 1 billion pounds. he wears like 10 million bandanas because every time he takes a bandana off, like it doesn't come off of his head. It's just like still on his character.
Dude, it's so ridiculous.
He's throwing them like, shuriken or whatever. And then as they're doing their duel, Akane is like, Ranma, be careful. Like, oh no, Ranma, don't, like he's super strong. And then Ranma gets into an argument with Akane and is just like, hey, yo, quit fucking doing this shit. I don't like you. You're not cute. Get the fuck out of here. And she's like, fine. If you don't want me caring for you, then fuck you. And then Ryoga is like, you guys talk too much. Throws his fucking boomerang belt. Ranma blocks with the umbrella. And then it flies into the air. And then as he goes to check on Akane, because he knows he said something wrong, the boomerang belt comes down and just lops off her ponytail. Like at the fucking scalp, basically.
Yeah.
So that's episode 4. Episode 5, Akane's hair is cut. And this is what I like about this episode here, because the reaction of the two boys. So to me, this is literally like when you're 8 or 9 years old and you're like roughhousing with your friends inside and your parents told you like, don't roughhouse inside the house, but you just fucking do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then you have your sister that's like, guys, no, you shouldn't do that. Please stop. And then one of you throws the other one and then just like knees your sister in the face.
Yeah. Collateral damage.
And then both of you like literally stop, look at each other, and then you're just like, okay, just hit us as hard as you can. Like it's gonna fucking like bring her hair back, or it's gonna like fix any damage that you did. But I just like that interaction because I remember as a kid 100% doing that. You're just like roughhousing, someone takes it too far, someone gets hurt, and then you just think that like, oh, eye for an eye, go ahead and just like knee me in the face. Like it's gonna fix everything when it's obviously
not even close.
Anything. But yeah, so Ranma feels bad. He tries to apologize and like make it up to Akane. Like only a young boy tries. Where he tries to say, oh, it's, it doesn't look that bad. Like, oh, here, like.
Yeah, just totally downplay it.
And then she's like, no, I'm good. And then he's just like, why don't you accept my apology? Like, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they go to Dr. Tofu. Akane is there. She kind of, I don't want to say sprained her ankle, but, her ankle was sensitive after all of the crazy boy fighting stuff. And she asks him if he likes her hair, and he says, yes, that suits you. And then she had a good old cry at Dr. Tofu's. I think for a few reasons. Like, one, probably because Ranma was being a dick.
Yeah.
2, probably because I think she's just getting over Dr. Tofu, that she knows that Kasumi, her sister, is number 1 in Dr. Tofu's eyes.
Also of age. Let's be real.
For her, in the very beginning of that episode, she had the flashback when she was a kid and she had the short hair. And then she wanted to grow her hair out because that's what her sister's hair was like. So I think it was kind of a cry on a lot of different things. Probably her realization, Dr. Tofu, she's never going to be with Dr. Tofu. Her hair getting cut is kind of symbolism for her, I guess, cutting off like other emotional baggage that she had in the past. So that's good. She had a good cry. She leaves Dr. Tofu. Ranma's there too. And, he's like, you know what? Your short hair is actually kind of cute. And then he let his guard down and she pushes him into the river.
As you
do. Then from there, Ryoga's back. He's like, I've been wandering for like fucking a week trying to find the Tendo Dojo. And I finally found it. Ranma, you can't run from our duel anymore. Yeah, he just does a B&E. He just breaks into the Tendo Dojo. And he's like, Ranma, you're asleep, but we have to duel. And then he tries to punch him and Ranma just like rolls over. And then he tries to like punch him again and then Ranma rolls to the other side.
Banger. From
From there, he just yells, wakes up Genma and Ranma. Genma just throws them both outside and they're just like, fucking, you guys are too loud, get out of here. Ranma turns into the girl. Ryoga finally tells Ranma why he wants his revenge. And it ends up being that on his quest to finish his duel with Ranma, he wanders into China where Ranma and Genma were. He wanders into like the cursed pond, and then Genma and Ranma are fighting in their transformed forms. And then they hit Ryoga on accident, and then he falls into a pond himself. And that is why he wants revenge so bad, because he is afflicted by the same style curse that they are. But his transformation is a little bit more innocent and a little bit more vulnerable, because he doesn't have like the autonomy to be able to turn himself back like Ranma and Genma do. So he turns into a little piglet. And Akane is like, look at this cute little pig. Ranma, don't you ever do anything to hurt the pig. And then she kisses it on the snout and goes to bed with the piglet. And I just thought it was hilarious. Ryoga was just living it up.
Yeah.
He was also sleeping too.
Yeah.
His little pig eyes were closed. And then Ranma is just like, dude, that's Ryoga. Like, what are you, like, Akane, what are you doing? And he tries to sneak into Akane's room to steal Ryoga away. But he's not having any of it. And Akane is just like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? And Ranma is just like, this is insane.
Yeah, I always enjoy Ranma. I think it's just so absurd all the time, and it's just fun. And that's just the aim. It's just mostly fun. And then you got some serious moments like with Akane being introspective and looking at the world around her rather than just being like angry at Ranma and beating up dudes all day. So I like, all in all, Ranma's great for me. For what it's trying to accomplish as a retelling of the story, I think it's nailing it.
It is still very like childish, I feel like. And
absolutely.
That's what I like about it, is kind of seeing that childish aspect in the interaction of the characters. I think it's great. I think it's a nice kind of shift back to how things were versus how things are now.
To speak on the difference between the two, we can go into Demon Lord. Veltol started streaming. Our boy DL, as I call him, Takahashi got him into streaming. He gets 1 million subscribers in like 2 seconds and begins his crusade of getting all the faith in the world so that he can become more powerful again. All while getting his fucking cheeks clapped at Dark Souls. And it's fucking great. By the end of the montage, he's actually able to complete Dark Souls 3 pretty quickly. I think they said he didn't even die once on Dark Souls 3, and he's like all super excited about it. But like they show him with OBS, they show the camera, they show like all of it. It's so on the nose, like they fucking nailed it.
I thought it was hilarious that he was literally on Steam. He literally had a PlayStation
the
controller,
Steam client.
Literally using OBS. Like, it was period correct. It was accurate.
They finished the stream. DL's super excited. He's like, I'm hitting goals, dude. I'm dope as fuck. Makida's taking a bath, comes out. She's like vibing, forgets that he lives there. She's naked, drinking a juice box. And he's like, damn, that's kind of sick. That's cool of you. Thanks for that. My body's still better though. And then he goes about his day and he meets his old buddy that killed him 500 years ago, our boy Graham. Just homeless as shit, sitting on the side of the road, just with his sword in the same clothes he wore to kill DL in the first place. DL walks up and he's like, hey, Graham, how you doing, bud? And Graham's just like, what are you doing here? What is going on? DL invites him to go get some udon. They have like a really, like, I thought it was really interesting discussion about the outlook on how people like either conquer fear or let it dictate them, and like large groups of people and like how peace is obtained, all of that. It's interesting because Graham obviously is more like us humans, where we don't want to be ruled by a single person over the whole like earth. We all have different cultures, all that stuff. DL was literally trying to conquer their world so that they could have peace. And that's all he wanted. And he says, like, at heart, we're very similar. Graham says we're extremely different. You don't know what you're talking about. Thanks for the udon. I'm fucking out. And just pieces out. And Veltol's just like, kind of sit there thinking about all the things that they basically did. And he's like, kind of like, I guess you're just wrong and you just don't realize it.
So real quick, right?
Oh, yeah.
That is Graham. So that's the original Graham.
Yeah.
And he was gifted eternal youth.
Oh, by Meldia. Yeah, sorry about that.
Which was the god that, you know, helped him when fighting Veltol.
Mm-hmm.
As you were saying, they were kind of having this existential conversation of what is existence? Like, what makes a hero a hero. And Graham, you know, in his eyes, he's like, the world doesn't need a hero anymore. I'm basically useless. And Veltal was just like, man, you gotta stop having a little pity party here, because
you don't know how wrong you are.
The fact that I am here is proof that your existence is needed.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like a yin and yang sort of deal, where like if Veltal's here, Graham is here because, you know, he is the hero that is supposed to save the world. Veltal's the guy that's supposed to take over the world. And they will always kind of be at ends with each other.
I don't even think Veltal thinks he's going to be at ends with Graham by the end of the story. I think he just does, like, Graham does not see the overarching idea of like how to save a world. If you really think about it, Veltal is the hero of his own story. Like, they talk about it while they're sitting there. Graham's like, you killed my family. You killed my friends, my family, my countrymen. And Veltal's like, dude, you did the same thing to my vassals, my people. Yeah. Like, you killed who I was close to. And so they have that moment where I don't like, that's like a real good moment for me. In the middle of this joking, like, I'm a streamer now. It's just, it's good. They talk about after, you know, the demon war breaks out, how he gets his immortality. You know, it's just all good. Like, I love the fact that they're bringing Graham back as the kind of character that he's going to be going forward, like rebuilding himself without all of the confidence that DL has. He is the opposite of that coin. He's going to have to go through a lot of trials and tribulations trying to get back to what he once was as a person and as a human being existing in the world, because he's lost so much humanity over the course of the 500 years. He actually had to live through it, whereas DL just fucking woke up and he's like, I'm back, sick, this is dope. Marcus is planning some shit. Takahashi gets involved with the Yakuza on accident, and her original bodyguard is like yelling at her like, I need double for this, like, you're crazy. And DL comes by and he's like, hey, don't talk to my girl like that. That's my home. That's my homie, dude. And he's like, dude, I will beat your ass again. And he's like, let's go. I got 1 million subscribers. I'm ready to fight. And he goes to punch DL. DL blocks it. And then he does like a wind blast, breaks DL's arm. And then he just starts laughing and like reattaches his arm and heals it immediately. And then he just like takes like the flick of a finger, knocks the dude into a bunch of trash. It's like his little redemption arc has begun, you know?
Yeah, when he beat him up, he left him in trash and he returned the favor.
Yeah. So then Takahashi's like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but you're my new bodyguard. We got to go steal some shit. And DL's immediately like, yeah, that's totally normal. Let's go. That was the end of episode 3. And then episode 4 begins with them having entered the place. DL just decides to kick the door in. Dudes are dressed in 50s clothes. It's like a weird scenario because obviously everybody's out of their norms or what they should look like in cyberpunk cities, in my opinion.
Yeah, you have the gangsters who are in just like 1960s mobster clothes. Yeah. You have DL in like an Adidas tracksuit.
Yeah.
And then he's yelling his streamer introduction to them. And he's like, oh, guess they're not one of my 1 million subscribers.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to take that cube, by the way, beats up everybody by like doing some DBZ, like flash running around and shooting the magic gun, which was great. I loved that. And then beats up these guys and they think they're home free to get out with this cube. Turns out there was one more thing stopping them. And it's like under a full, like, what would you call that? Like
it's like a camouflage cloak. It's basically like either
active
Harry
camo.
Potter, Ghost in the Shell, or Lord of the Rings. They all had camouflage cloak.
Yeah, so he, like, a mech is under it, and he doesn't really know, but he's like, all right, well, at least I could fight this thing. This is going to be sick. I'll be able to use my 1 million subscribers power. And Takahashi's like, can you stop fucking saying that every time you're going to fight somebody? It's great. He shoots the active camo off the mech. He's like, oh, shit. And she's like, you need to run. That shit's crazy. He's like, nah, this is perfect. This is going to be sick. They kind of have like a little duel. He jumps back and then he's like, I'm going to need to put my armor back on. I'm going to get my sword out. This is fucking awesome. Puts his armor on, materializes his sword, and he's like, all right, time to frag. And then he like is standing in front of the mech. The mech charges up like a lightsaber, basically. Changes his gun into a lightsaber, sorry. and then chops off DL's arm at the socket, like from the shoulder, and then cuts his head off. And then you're like, oh, that didn't go super well. But, you know, DL, immortal, puts himself back together, and he's like, that was pretty sick. I respect that. And then he pulls out his sword from when he fought Graham. And he's like, time to get serious. And then chops this thing into like a bunch of pieces, delimbs it, and then he's like, okay, that was fun. Time to see what this is about. He goes to like go to the cockpit, and the dude starts talking to whoever he's talking to, and then you just hear a gunshot. And I was like, oh, damn. Okay. Dude just blew his own brains out. Did not want to get captured. Okay. And then we continue on.
Yeah, because what's the sword called? Vernal?
I don't think I wrote down what his sword
I think it was
called.
Vernal. He like pulled it out of like the shadow ether.
Yeah.
It was almost like Unlimited Blade Works where he's just like, he pulls it out of like a portal.
Yeah.
And domes the thing. I was going to ask that. The pilot of that mech probably just domed himself, right?
Yeah. 100%. Oh, that's the gunshot. He's literally killed himself. That's why he didn't open the cockpit. He's like, okay, you know, like this dude's probably dead.
And that was also an IHMI mech. So that was one of Marcus's mechs.
They're trying to uncover a little more of what is going on in the world. They end up hacking into the cube. Takahashi is like, what is this? And he's like, this is a list of names of immortals. Like, I know everybody on this list. And then they're like, okay, well, we can't get a hold of the guy. We're trying to call him on the Familia. We can't get a hold of him. We have to go to his house. I know where he lives. Let's go. And so he has this, like, everything is a precaution. He's got all these, you have to go to the 2nd floor, and then the 17th floor, and then the 5th floor, and then the top floor, and then back down to the 13th floor to get to his house. Like, there's a code of riding an elevator. They get into the 13th floor. She's like, dude, there's a ton of traps around. He's like, no, they've all been disarmed. I'm the master of traps. I used to make dungeons. It was like my pastime. The traps are gone. They get inside and they're like, who are we meeting? What is going on? And she's like, we're meeting Eiju, who is the guy that you met. He sometimes dresses up as a homeless person. You met him, but he's like a information guru. Everybody goes to him for information. He hands out jobs and stuff like that for hackers and whatnot. Basically a criminal Robin Hood, I guess you could say, right? He wants the information to be in the right hands for the right people. And he's like uncovering a plot. And you see, they walk into the door and Eiju is dead in front of his computer, stabbed in the heart.
And the Familia.
Oh, yeah, and the Familia. And DL says none of these were from malice. Like, all of the emotions in these attacks were completely cold-blooded. This must have been an assassin. They're assuming it's from IHMI because this whole plot is going to revolve around what IHMI is doing. And so Takahashi's like, there's got to be a backup here. You can't connect to the Familia without a backup. She finds the backup in his desk, opens the computer. DL figures out that all the broken folders are actually a program that needs to be put together to run correctly. They do that, and they find out it's a video. The video is Eiju telling them there's something way more sinister going on than what they thought. The building, the IHMI building, or the Aether Reactor, a city of Shinjuku size, would take 10 Aether lines intersecting under it to power the entire city. But there are only 2 Aether lines on the ground powering this city. It shouldn't work. So something else is happening. So Eiju figures out that there's a project called the Immortal Furnace Project, and finds out they're using immortals as fuel, and often calls them firewood, to create electricity and magic in this city.
They also did insinuate that they use like slave labor to make the infernal.
Oh yeah.
Or the immortal furnace.
Oh yeah. They killed everybody.
Yeah. All those construction workers like disappeared. So I assume that they were just fed to the furnace.
Yeah.
They said, I think it was like 1 immortal equals like
tens of thousands
normal lives.
Mm-hmm.
So you can sacrifice 1 immortal to power the city, mm-hmm. or you would sacrifice like 20,000 people. Mm-hmm. And they also said that Veltol's Dark Peer,
Zenol is the one
first sacrificed to the furnace.
Yeah. So he's immediately like, okay, this is an immortal problem. I am the immortal king. Like, these are my people. I'm going to fuck some shit up. This is not okay under my watch. I'm going to have to do something about this. And then he's like, oh, I need to call Machina. Calls up Machina, and the episode ends without Machina answering the phone or answering his brainwaves, technically. But yeah, it's like shit's starting to hit the fan. Like, we got a fight scene, like a real one. We've got some bigger level magic being cast. We've got the Immortal Furnace. We've got Marcus and the IHMI doing dark shit. An entire city built on human innocent lives or immortal innocent lives. Shit's getting a little heavy. I dig it. I'm having a really good time with Demon Lord.
I thought it was nice, the transition of pace and how they did it.
Yeah.
Because before it was just DL getting beat up, couldn't find a job, he was poor, he was homeless. He begins streaming and it's all silly. But now it's starting to get a little bit serious. And if we look at Cyberpunk the game or Cyberpunk Edgerunners, there are no like happy endings. So if they kind of follow that same trend of the cyberpunk-ness of the show, then maybe it will get a little bit darker and then never get light.
It's going to get darker and then it's going to be sad the whole time.
But I did think it was silly that Eiju had all those figurines. Did you see that in his room? I was like, holy shit, like that guy has fucking cases of figurines.
Oh, I thought that was like server room or something. I didn't really look to the left.
He did have a server, but no. On all of the walls were just figurine cabinets.
Hell yeah.
My boy Christian, Dark Baloo here, he sent me this thing. Apparently it was a news story or something, but it was just the least attractive male hobbies. And guess what number one is?
I'm going to guess video game.
You are correct.
I'm going to guess number 2 is anime.
No, number 2 is collecting figurines.
Okay.
So I'm just like, uh-oh. I'm 0 for 2 right now. But yeah, number 3 was magic, which is basically juggling. So I'm 0 for 3.
Okay.
Online trolling, I don't troll too much, but I do play League of Legends. So I'm 0 for 4.
Oh, yeah.
Number 5 is gambling. I don't gamble, but I do crane game, which is basically gambling. So I'm actually the least attractive male in society.
Damn. That's tough.
Tough world out. No, Demon Lord's great. So,
yes, and I agree. I hope it does get a little bit darker. I think it'll be fun.
I don't want Machina to be dead, though.
No,
but if she is,
absolutely
I'm going to be sad. But at the same time, if they can do something with that story, then good on them.
If Machina is dead, that'd be really upsetting. Like, I'd be super sad.
All right, Bleach. Here we go. What everyone's been waiting for, their favorite 1,000-year blood war arc. Episode 4. So here we go. Starts off with some more Mimi Hagiing. Dude, if we didn't get enough in episode 3.
We're Mimi Hagiing all over the place.
They made sure that we got a surplus of Mimi Hagi. And Ukitake explains that this whole thing that he's doing, his whole Mimi Hagiing, is called Kamikake, I believe. And what that does is he's sacrificing all of himself, like John Legend, all of me, and he is allowing Mimi Hagi to possess him. And when Mimi Hagi possesses him, he becomes the right hand of the Soul King. So Ukitake's basically being erased, just like twitching with a bunch of like black ants on him, and everyone just is literally standing
around like, damn, that looks like it sucks, dude. That's tough.
That's happening, and he is the right hand of the Soul King, Mimi Hagi. So Ukitake is just like, I'm going to throw up blood, and then I'm going to throw up fucking ants, black spirals, Uzumaki. And then the Soul King hand shoots into the heavens, aka the Soul King Palace, and grabs onto the Soul King crystal. So now, after it grabs onto the crystal, everyone's like, holy shit, the fucking shaking stopped. Like, the right hand of the Mimi Hagi, the hand, what do they call it? Stillness. The right hand of stillness has stilled the fucking earthquakes or whatever. Yhwach now sees the future that escaped his future-seeing eyes.
Yeah, of course.
And then he just started yelling at this black hand. He's just like, He tries
to grab at it.
He says, get off my lawn, black hand.
He's Gran Torino now? Damn.
And then he tries to blast it. He's like, I'm going to blast you. But then the hand is like, no, I'm going to blast you back.
Yeah.
And then I guess, like, Ichigo just breaks free of the Quincy blood control and tries to stop him. And I guess, like, he should really, I don't know, take those eyes in for some warranty work. Because it's like, how did you not see, like, Ichigo breaking the Quincy control? Apparently, you can't see the Mimi Hagi hand. You didn't see, like, Yoriichi throwing fucking dust bombs at you. I'm just like, man, these future eyes really fucking suck. If like you're still getting hit by shit.
My theory is that he literally does not care. He's at his goal. He has reached his goal. It is seconds away from being in his grasp. This is just to like back up the storytelling. He is not perfect, but also I don't think he cares because he is so powerful right now that all that matters is absorbing the Soul King, and then whatever happens after that, who gives a shit? The whole breaking of the Quincy, I think it's just that Yhwach's losing focus maybe, and he just breaks it, and then because he's fighting Mimi Hagi to a certain extent. Mimi Hagi does not stand a chance. This is all inconsequential.
So yeah, he I don't know, recall on those eyes. Yoriichi then rolls up and throws some talismans on the ground, Seiko style, DANDADAN, and starts to create a barrier around the Soul King and the Soul King arm, and tells Ichigo to buy me some time, boy. Yhwach said he's the one that killed Ichigo's mom, so he's like, you're a bitch. I killed your mom and you can't even kill me. You're bad boy. You're a bad boy. And then he Donkey Kong throws him and spanks him.
Yeah. Question. Yoriichi throws a bola. This is the part where she throws the bola at Yhwach, and he's like,
well, it technically wasn't a bola. It was like a string of like smoke bombs, because a bola is technically a piece of string with two heavy objects on the end, so when you throw it, it trips up the target.
Yeah.
But these were like smoke bombs, and then she's just like, don't get hit twice or it turns you to dust. And then Ishida rolls up, and then he shoots Yoriichi in the right shoulder with an arrow. It's not like a fucking laser arrow or like a fucking laser beam that he used to kill Squad Zero with. It was just a regular arrow.
The arrows he's been shooting for literally hundreds of episodes.
But it just kind of sticks in her arm, and there's like a little splat of blood. And then from there, like, she loses concentration, and then like the barrier that she was building, it falls apart.
Yeah, I called Greg. No, I sent you a voice message while I was watching this because it instantly made me angry. Because like he shoots her in the shoulder. If an arrow shot in the shoulder is stopping your barrier technique around the Soul King, your barrier technique is fucking useless because Yhwach is literally going to like walk through it.
She used to be like the secret agent like of Soul Society. Like, how do you just get shot with an arrow like out of nowhere? And then again, she just ignores first aid 101 just like Ichigo, and it's just like, arrow in my back. Ugh. And she just fucking pulls the arrow out like it's, dude, I'm not gonna fucking bleed out.
It's crazy when you look at like stereotypes of like strength. It's like, yeah, if you get shot with an arrow, you gotta pull that shit out immediately and then fucking throw it on the ground because you're a badass. Or when you get stabbed, you like don't leave the knife in there and you like look at it and you open the stab wound up and let yourself bleed out super hard because you want to be cool. It's like,
that's the thing. I kind of wish they did a little bit more like research on these weapons that they're using, because it's like, are the Quincy's just using some like standard broadhead arrows? Like, how do you know that shit wasn't barbed? If you ever like shot a barbed arrow into something that's alive and you go to like pull that thing out, that's the whole point of what a barbed arrow does. Like, when you go to pull that thing out, it's just gonna like, it's gonna rip out like an inch or two diameter hole of what you just pulled out.
Yeah.
You might as well just leave that shit in there and then go to the doctor so they can kind of like remove it without you like rending the flesh.
Like surgically remove it so there's less damage. Like it's like there's no real explanation. She gets shot and it's just like,
yeah,
instantly this thing is gone. Yhwach's right there.
So assuming she didn't detect him at all,
yeah,
even though she's literally like the Secret Service special agent man that can like detect everything or whatever, he had a free shot. Now, I mean, to do predictions here, Ishida's probably like, I don't know what you call it, like the fucking depressed wannabe hero guy. Because he's just like, I sacrificed all this stuff so I could get close to Yhwach, so I could, you know, kill him with my own hands. And I just have to play, you know, pretend that I'm the bad guy to be the good guy in the end. So maybe he's not trying to kill her. You know, maybe he didn't use his literal fucking ion cannon that he used against Ichigo later on her because he's not trying to kill her. But, you know, I don't know. I guess you could have made it a little
He's
more
a really
convincing.
good actor if that's the case. You know what I mean? Like, we're going back into territory of the whole reason that Aizen exists in the first place. because he infiltrated the Gote 13. His quest for strength led him to the Hyogoku, and he's like, okay, I'm going to betray these people from the inside. I'm going to kill Rukia or get her killed. Like all of his story makes sense to me. It's all there. This feels different. It doesn't feel like it feels like it's supposed to be more serious because it's literally going to unmake reality if the Soul King is gone. But like I'm like, okay.
Again, it's kind of what I said in the last episode. It's all execution based. Like the story itself isn't bad. It's how they're telling the story, which is the issue.
Yeah.
Another thing to go towards that point is, Yorichi whips out her secret weapon, which is apparently the fucking dust smoke bombs that she has like a million of them. And she's like, oh yeah, Yhwach, did you get hit? Don't get hit again or you're just going to turn into dust, bitch. And then he calls on Parngas, Parngius. The little fucking Among Us guy.
The Among Us guy. Pargus.
Pops up out of nowhere and is just like, surprise, bitch, you like arms? Not anymore. And just twists him off like into oblivion.
Yeah.
And then Yhwach, he blasts her in the face. Like that explosion, and then you can see her little dust trail like go even farther past the explosion. He straight up fucking blasts her right in the face. And no one helps. Inoue is like, oh shit. And then comic relief guy is just like, oh no. Like, what's going on? Yeah. And then Chad doesn't say anything. He's just standing there. Yeah. And then we just watch her lifeless body just like descend from the Soul Palace. And I'm like, cool. Okay, I don't know what happened to her, but I know her arms don't work anymore. And then from there, Ichigo goes to stop Yhwach, but Ishida shoots an arrow at him, and he's like, gotta block. Yeah, and then he blocks, and then Yhwach just breaks the seal, and then he just like tears the Soul King hand, and he's just like, get these fucking
Mimi Hagi out of here.
Yeah, like Mimi Hagi.
These nuts.
Yeah. And then he rips the hand. And then the other Quincy dudes show up.
Yeah.
And we have like the Ichigo, Ishida, I can't believe you could do this scene.
Okay, real quick. This is something specifically for the anime. Like, this was not in the manga. Like, they have a moment where they see each other and they know that they're on the opposite sides, but the fight isn't even shown in the manga at all. I think it's just like totally passed over and it's assumed that Ishida won. This is us watching it. So I thought this was a little bit cooler than the idea of just like Ishida shows up, Ichigo is lost. But like, if you're looking at power scaling on what's going on, like a lot of the Quincy characters are just so like their powers are so strong.
Yeah. Like it doesn't make sense. And you know what? You said like it was kind of cool that they show the fight. I think it's kind of dumb. They leave like a gap in the story, which I'm going to get to. Mm-hmm. But when they have this fight, they're basically leaving a gap that is, I'm not going to say it's like immersion breaking. It's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But there is a gap in the story where I assume they didn't have to fill it in the manga if this scene didn't happen. You just kind of let the viewers make the assumptions of like what happened, and then you can kind of gloss over your gaps. But I'll get into those gaps. As you were saying, Quincy dudes just fucking OP as shit. They all show up. Getting hit with Squad Zero Bankai doesn't even matter. Ichigo's flying around with Ishida. He has a chance to kill him, and he doesn't. And then Ishida releases his Quincy, I'm Hermes, fly to the sun, little wing boots, or whatever he has. From there, cuts to Urahara and the other scientist dudes. And they're just worried about the world's shaking apart and shit. Urahara is like, goes, okay, right hand of stillness. That's why everything stopped shaking. Mm-hmm. Cool. Cuts back to comedy relief guy, Inoue, and Chad. All those other overpowered fucking OP Quincy's are there. Inoue's boob window just continues to get bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The Quincy dudes are basically owning them. They're just like, yeah, your attacks are actually really weak and you should be embarrassed.
Yeah, Chad tries to punch something and it is successfully deflects a thing.
I don't even think it deflects. They just stood there. And then there was just dust and they're just like, oh, that was embarrassing.
It's so strange to me how you can continue to write these kinds of tropes. And like, you're basically infantizing literally your entire cast of characters. they don't matter anymore because of how powerful these Quincy's are.
And Byakuya says it perfect in episode 5, and I'll get to that.
Okay.
But he basically talks about being insulted. And the own character inside of the anime is describing the feeling that I have that the show is giving me. Like, you are just insulting me with these tropes. It's like you have the group of, like, obviously weaker people than Ichigo trying to fight the obviously fucking OP Quincy guys for no reason. Like, I don't know why those Quincy's are so powerful. I don't know why they just don't delete everyone, because they can just have the ability to guy to just literally blow them away, or just have Among Us guy just twist them in half.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many things that you can do. They're just getting fucking clapped by Quincy people.
Mm-hmm.
The Quincy dudes are like, I don't even want to fight you because you're so weak. And then comic relief guy is just like, check this out. Fucking magic trick. I'm the third least attractive man in the world. And then he basically turns the ground to sand, and then they're just like, that was silly.
And then they get away.
It cuts to Ichigo and Ishida basically having their, like, test of strength, where I think you had it up on the screen. Yeah. Like, he shoots his big Quincy arrow cross. Ichigo uses his Getsuga.
GG show.
Yeah. And then Ichigo's thing obviously just blows it out of the water, but it misses Ishida. And I assume Ichigo did it on purpose because he had a second time to kill him and he doesn't. Ishida is just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to shoot this laser arrow at you and just put a hole in your chest.
Okay, so one of the things they show that this is a frustrating trope that I have. When they show, like, holes in people in the scene, the hole is like almost inside of his whole body. Like, it's a lot of his stomach, it's a lot of his intestine. There's a good amount of chunk missing. When they show it as he's falling, it's literally like this little indent like this. It's like a crescent. And so it's like, okay, did he just get his guts blown out, or did he lose his love handles? You know what I mean? Like, which one is it? Because in frame of reference, I feel like if you really wanted to, you could have drawn that correctly the first time and still gotten the point of cross. Ichigo loses.
This is where, if they didn't have this in the manga, this is where you fucked up. Because now you have this, like, weird new scene that wasn't there originally, that you had to basically portray that Ichigo lost, and then now you drew it versus it being like figment of the viewer's imagination.
The viewer also could have literally said, oh wait, he just lets Ishida live, which is kind of what happens, but also doesn't just get blown away at the same time.
And then in episode 5, Ichigo kind of wakes up. Yoriichi is there and everyone's there, and it's all just like, I'm skipping a little bit, but this is because this has to do with the loophole thing, is because now you created the scene that didn't exist of Ichigo losing, and now you basically had to explain that, like, he fell from the Soul Palace. So, like, now you have to make up all of this shit where it's just like, how did he not die? And then if you just left it where you didn't show that scene and then he was just there, everyone could have just, like, assumed. But now it's just like, okay, so now he fell like 1 billion feet from the Soul Palace. And then Yoriichi did the same thing. She fucking fell too. She's just like, did anyone catch her? Like, what was her deal? Like, no one knows. It's just, you just end up at the bottom with your friends and you're like, here we are. Hey. And then that's it. Like, it's not explained at all. Just, if they just left it to the imagination, it would have been a little bit better, because now I don't have to try to put all of these, like, random pieces together. I would have just made the whole thing in my mind into something that makes sense versus you giving me something that doesn't make sense.
I kind of agree. It does give more context, but I wish that the context wasn't as, it's like, it feels poorly written. Like, if Ichigo's like, hey, we need to make a tactical retreat, these people are way too strong, I don't know what the fuck to do, that's a different situation. Like, Yoriichi getting blasted and then them running away and finding her is like a different thing. But she just is there and Ichigo's healed from Inoue. Like, okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves because that's what happened. Yeah. So at the end of the episode, Yhwach now, for some reason, is allowed to chop the crystal that has the Soul King. Why? He needed Ichigo to do it originally, right?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Exactly. Right. Now he can just, like, He's fucking in Uzumaki. He's just diving into the snail shell and eating the fucking Soul King face first.
Yeah.
And then he just turns into a bunch of eyes, and then that's basically the end of episode 4.
He bends down to absorb the Soul King after he breaks him out of the crystal, and he's like, I'm going to take everything from you. In this situation, again, we are unmaking reality that as we know it. He starts absorbing, and the power just starts overflowing out of his really luscious hair and mustache. And so it turns into the almighty eyes, and they all have sentience, of course, why not? And they're little like bugs, and they fall down in a stream. What?
They're babies.
Oh, that's gross.
They're babies that fucking bite.
They have they're like leeches. They look like leeches.
They're one-eyed cyclop babies with a sarlacc pit as a mouth.
Okay. All right. That checks out. So we open with episode 5. The shit's pouring down. Mimi Hagi's all Mimi Hagi'd out. Ukitaki's dead as fuck, probably. Or not. I don't know. It's fucking Bleach. He could just like get up and be like, my heart and my lungs and my kidneys, they're fine. Sorry. Sorry, false alarm. I wasn't that sick this whole time.
Yhwach sends his eye babies down. They're just nomming on, some random Soul Reapers.
Killing everything.
All of the captains and vice captains are like fighting them off and stuff. And, then, okay, here we go, dude. We got Byakuya. And then he's like, Senbon Sakura. And then you have your fucking cherry blossom petals that are just trash. Literally trash. The babies are just like, fucking, I don't care about these stupid petals. And then that's the other thing where we had this conversation last episode. The power scaling. You made Byakuya basically useless. Like, he sucks. His Bankai sucks. Everything he does is trash. He was the coolest guy.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to be him.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh, fucking Sarlacc pit eye babies are literally just eating your things, and you're just like, damn, I guess I suck.
When it comes to us discussing this power scaling, Yhwach is now absorbing the Soul King, and all of this is pouring out of all of this power.
Yeah.
This raw power is pouring out of. One thing that we didn't mention, Kyoraku says something in the episode alluding to Aizen coming to hang out.
Oh, I mean, like episode 3, like it was basically like he's coming to the surface.
All this power is like just leaking out of Yhwach. And then we have characters like Byakuya who were incredibly powerful. Renji's there, just fucking standing there being useless as always.
Yeah, he was never useful.
This is why it frustrates me with Bleach's power scaling. Because like we've gone from Senbon Sakura to this dude is leaking literal sentient things and controlling the future because he can see it. And then other characters are creating different realities, and like it's like you have lost what the power scaling used to be. Getsuga Tensho does not fucking matter at all whatsoever.
No.
And Getsuga Jijisho doesn't even matter either because of this. Like, if this dude, the Among Us dude, literally just thinks about killing Yoruichi and breaks her arms, what do you think he's going to do to Ichigo? Like, if the power scaling was real, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So Aizen shows up in his chair.
I thought this was sick, by the way.
And then he's just like, why are you guys using weapons, you dumb idiots?
Yeah, you could literally crush them with your spiritual pressure.
And everyone is opposed to Aizen being free.
Yeah.
They're just like, Kyoraku, what are you doing? Like,
why would
you're
you do
fucking
that?
nuts. And then he's like, you need evil to fight evil. So I brought Aizen along because he's pretty evil.
But he's not that evil. And it's true. It's true. In the grand scheme of things, Aizen just wanted power. He wanted to eventually rival the power of the Soul King. Wanted to be super strong. He didn't want to kill the Soul King to like unmake reality. So of the two evils, it's like the genocide of the entirety of the known universe and our reality, or the guy that just wants to get really buff. You know what I mean? It's like
after that, Aizen pulls a Rudius Grey Rat or a Veltol Demon Lord, incantationless magic, Hado Kyuju, and makes his giant fucking rectangle square thing, shield thing, or whatever. Yeah. And Byakuya is like, Kyoraku, dude, like,
what did you do?
You literally insulted all of us.
Yeah.
By bringing Aizen here. basically he's just like, yeah, go ahead and hate me. I don't give a fuck. Like,
yeah.
we're losing.
I mean, I get it. He has to do what he has to do.
The reason why, like, Byakuya says that, in my mind, because they don't explain it, the insult is that Kyoraku didn't trust them to defend their own world.
Yeah.
So he had to bring out Aizen to turn the tides. And rightfully so. Like, I guess you can just call Byakuya prideful because they were fucking losing. Obviously, your Bankai doesn't do shit, and you haven't really upgraded it for, fucking 14 seasons.
One of the Quincy powers was creating zombies, correct?
Yeah, the new Quincy's that they introduced in part 1.
Yes, but is still alive.
She's a zombie that controls zombies.
Yes, but she's alive. Still.
She's alive.
Okay. So this is the whole point, is that you don't know whether, like, I mean, it's kind of assumed that they're one or the other. I don't fucking know, really. But they have this moment with Aizen where he's just like, yo, I'm just gonna fucking explode everything and I'll just shoot the fucking palace out of the sky. Watch. With all of my power.
Yep. He does say that.
And he goes to do that, and it's a pretty cool, like, I liked the animation of it. But he is contained, and there's something that stops him. And they're like, what? Why? And he's like, my spiritual pressure is like fucking crazy. And then Homeboy shows up and he's like, haha, the way we did it was we are keeping your spiritual pressure close to your body. That's the rule. We're not deleting it or getting rid of it. We're just keeping it contained.
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
Urahara was basically saying Aizen's gotten stronger since his fight with Ichigo.
Yeah. Yep.
Even though he was imprisoned and trapped and, he had keys in his fucking ankles and shit, he's just somehow beginning stronger. Aizen, yeah, as you said, he's like, I'm just going to pull the Soul King Palace down. Watch this, guys. Hold my beer.
Yeah.
Then you have Kudo Tsuchi, which is the crazy scientist guy.
Yeah, the baby dude.
He's explaining, like, how they're restricting Aizen's power, and he basically just has a volume knob, and he's like, this is how we control your power, Aizen. We just kind of turn down your volume. And Aizen's like, hey, yo, turn that shit up to 11. And he's like, no thanks.
Let me rip. Let me rip, bro.
I don't remember this guy's name, but the Quincy dude with the checkered teeth or whatever that can see Reiatsu is just like, Aizen, look at all the holes in you, you dumb bitch. And he just like fucking bounces a marble inside of him or something, right?
Nah, he shoots him with his finger gun.
Yeah, his finger gun of marbles. So he shoots the marbles. It does like the little track inside of Aizen's body. And he's like, oh shit, I'm stunned. And then from there, a couple of the other Quincy's from part 1 come out. They're just like, oh, you here to stop us? And then Firefinger Shooty guy, Baz B or whatever, blasts Checkered Teeth Man. And then...
But also, hey, didn't Ichigo just get blown in half? Like, what the fuck? And then this guy gets shot by a little bullet and he's like... That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's probably going to get back up later, dude. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Then fucking, okay, Firefinger Shooter guy, Monster Shoes Man, and Zombie Girl are all back. They're like, hey, we'll help you fight Yhwach because we don't like him anymore.
He left us behind.
So they're like, hey, ceasefire. We'll help you just get us up there.
Yeah, and we'll leave you alone after this is done.
Then there's a short scene of like someone that looks like in Huaco and like they're standing at the gate to cross over. It's like, oh, what's happening here? And then Kyoraku, he gets on his cell phone and he calls all of the remaining Shinigami to the research facility.
Everybody get up.
Yeah, they all start fucking moving over there. And then Kyoraku makes this like some war speech, pump them up, make a door to the Soul Palace. But then that's when we see some old characters. Hiyori and the other Death Mask, Hollow Mask people.
Espada. Or, well, they were called the Espada. But, dude, it's been a while. Vizards. That's what it was. Yeah. My bad.
Doesn't matter. They show up. They have a teapot full of energy, of portable energy. They just, like, fucking pour it on the ground. And Rukia's like, oh, it's not wet. That's weird. And then Urahara's like, no, it's portable energy. Hey, Twerko Mungo, check it out.
Yeah.
They open the door to the Soul Palace. Aizen isn't going, and he's sad because he's like, the people that imprisoned me are going to the Soul Palace before me. I'm sad.
Yeah, the other thing is they talked about how they pierced the membrane with the Mimihagi hand, like the membrane of their own defense systems.
Yeah.
So that's just a big hole in the plot. Anyways, so in the sky, they could teleport up. They all see the palace now. So what is stopping them from like most of these people can fly.
All of them can fly. All of them can.
So,
but it doesn't matter.
So they're going to teleport up there, and then they say the most annoying thing. Okay, first of all, Kenpachi shows up, and he's like, hey, what are we doing now? Are we going for more fights? I can't wait. I'm Kenpachi. I do love Kenpachi, though.
He's like, where's my girl?
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't know. And he's like, okay, I go find my girl. And they're like, no, we'll send someone to do it. And he's like, all right.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, like, you have all of these characters coming in now that you've seen before. They're just kind of doing like the cameo parade.
Yeah.
Everyone that you could like vaguely remember from whatever fucking other season of Bleach that ever aired anytime in the past. Everyone just starts to come out of the woodwork and they're like, let's all join hands and fight fucking Yhwach together. And he's bad. From there, I guess that the past fucking, I don't know, 20 minutes was so serious that they had to bring in some comedy relief. Inoue is healing Ichigo. He wakes up and she's like, Ichigo, you're safe, and just falls into his arms. And then her stomach rumbles because she's hungry. And Ichigo's like, what the fuck? And everyone's like, oh, she healed everyone fucking for the past 10 hours. Ichigo, don't be a fucking jerk. And then Yorichi is there. Her arms are just fucking reattached
Totally
and
fine.
She didn't get blasted in the face by our boy Huawei.
Wow.
There's no negative effect. She's just good to go. And then apparently Kon was just inside of like Ichigo's pants the whole time and he didn't even know. And he's just like, oh man, I inflated up and caught you as you fell when you got blasted off by Ishida like a bitch. Oh, remember me, guys? I'm here. And then Ichigo is just like, oh, you crazy, silly stuffed animal guy. And then now they're like, they got to get back to the Soul Palace. And how are they going to do that? Yorichi is like, don't worry, guys, I got this. And she rips open the Wakamundo gate. And there's our boy Grimjow. He's just like, hey, Ichigo, Kurosaki Ichigo, it is long time no see. Here I am. And then, yeah, bring out every fucking character that you can think of. And then we'll probably see Nell at some point, and she'll have an even smaller boob window than Inoue. But then our boy, Baja.
Baja?
Yeah, Mountain Dew Baja Blast finished absorbing the Soul King.
So one of the things back when they were doing the manga, like nobody knew how to say his name, like when it was just the manga. So it was Yhwach back then. That's what I read it as. So I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It becomes how to parade your characters around meaninglessly. Death doesn't matter. Defeat means nothing. And the stakes aren't as high. Because, like, okay, if this is like Deadpool and Wolverine, like they do a bunch of cameos from characters that didn't get movies or that got like shitty renditions of it, it's great. But it's like, that's the whole point, is breaking the fourth wall. Bleach, you're telling a story about like this massive, like shared experience among all of reality. Is it really time to parade every character you've written in front of us like they didn't get fucking wrecked? I get it. Grimjow was like a big fan favorite, but let him have his time. He existed in that time, and because he did was why everybody loves him so much. He's gone. He doesn't get to ruin the experience again. Like, that's what frustrates me.
It doesn't matter. So there's Bleach. We're all caught up on Bleach. Let's talk about something that actually makes sense, like DANDADAN.
Just to recap on Bleach, I don't hate Bleach, okay? It just frustrates me that a lot of these plot holes they're nonsensical.
It's what I said earlier. It's what I said in the last episode. And it's what I've been like trying to just like preach from the mountaintops. It's all about just the execution of the story. They're just executing the story very poor. And I don't know if it's to the point where it's gotten so big that it's like they can't control it. They've created so much stuff. It's like, how do we go back and link all of this shit back together somehow? In my eyes, they're struggling. And I'm assuming, like, I hope Bleach ends after this. I sure fucking hope after 1,000-Year Blood War, it's just fucking over.
So I'll tell you right now, they're already talking about the Hell Arc. It's already being discussed, but I don't think it's been written.
The true vision of Hell is like if I had to sit there and watch it.
But, okay, so like there is a scene where they approach the gates of hell. Not like a scene, sorry. It's implied. There's a time skip. There is some content that's been written. It's very short. It's like a little baby chapters. It's like 4 chapters of what's going on after this. So, and it's like 4 years later or something like that, I think. I don't quote me on that. But either way.
I don't know. Is it going to turn into Tokyo Ghoul like season 3, like whatever the last season of Tokyo Ghoul is? They all have kids now and they're living like normal lives and shit. Like, is that what it's going to be? Like 4 years in the future, probably Ichigo and Inoue are married and they're going to have like a kid and then he's going to go to like the gates of hell?
Stop saying things. You're way too correct right now. You got to stop. That's literally what happens, dude.
Oh, well, fuck, dude. That sounds terrible. Why would you do that? Why would anyone who said that they wanted to see that? Like what sort of like poll did they put out that was just like, hey guys, like the next arc of Bleach, do you just want to see them as parents and they all have kids?
God damn it, Greg. That was so good. That was so good. Oh my God.
The story is just like patches and they're doing their best to like sew them together in like a seamless way, but it's just like not working. It's like Failure Frame. I think Failure Frame eventually realized that they're just like, dude, we're trying to make this serious. There's no way we're going to do it. Let's just like lean into it and just make it as ridiculous as possible.
Yeah, it could be that, like, anyways, we're going hard on Bleach. DANDADAN. All right.
Shift gears.
So we're back. We're back to the greatest show ever created. DANDADAN. I cannot stop watching the intro. I have to watch it every time. Every single time. We have begun the Turbo Granny fight. Momo and Okarun have showed up to the area that is the location spirit, what is it? Location bound spirit, and where Turbo Granny is. They're coming to make a deal. They go inside and they see a massive fucking head clogging up the entire area. They can't walk any further forward. They turn around and see another massive head and they're like, oh shit, this is crazy. And it's animated fucking awesome. Like the way they do it in the red tones, it's just so, it's like bleak. It's bleak. It's cool. Like it's fucking, you get like the real moments of these characters like, hey, they're just gonna fucking die instantly.
I like when they see the first face and then Momo's just like, oh, dude, those fucking eyes are mouths. That's fucking gross.
Yeah.
And then she had the bats that I assume her grandma gave her, throws it at him and they're just like, and they just like eat them up.
Yeah. It did literally nothing. It was good. So then they're about to get eaten by these two faces as they're collapsing from either side to kill them both. And they make a bet with Turbo Granny. The bet that has been alluded to since episode 3. Seiko said, you got to make a bet. If you win, then Turbo Granny's powers are deleted and you guys are free from the curse. You just break the curse. First of all, like I said in a previous episode, Momo had taken off her spiritual garb that protects her. Okarun still has his. They make the deal. They say, hey, we get a 10-minute head start and we will beat you to the edge of town. And she's like, cool, that sounds great. And then she's like, we won't cheat. You don't cheat. She's like, I hate cheaters. Turbo Granny's a woman that abides by the rules. They begin running. And as they're reaching the edge of the domain expansion, as they reach the edge of the domain expansion that Turbo Granny put up.
Yeah, I guess that's accurate. Yeah.
As they're reaching the edge, she is counting in increments that make no sense at all. She's like 5 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm coming after you. And then just like fucking summons all these hands out of the fucking ground and grabs Momo and like wraps her in like a cocoon of hands. And then Okarun's just like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. Like, oh no, I have to save her. I have to do something. And does the best move in anime history and decides to finally suckle on that Turbo Granny teat and just chomps down.
He's just attached, right? Like he's not even using his arms. They're just like behind his back.
Attached at the mouth.
He's only attached by the mouth.
Yeah.
Turbo Granny says she can't use her powers while he's suckling. And I do like that throwback because that's what she said in episode 1.
Oh,
and he finally did it.
Yeah.
And she can't use her powers because of the ceremonial garb.
She then realizes she's like, I have to do something, so I'll recurse him, and then enters into his body.
Yeah, she's in the hands. Turbo Granny possesses Okarun to bust off his ceremonial garb clothes.
Yes.
But when she goes to take over him again, that's when Momo can see the curse. So once she made the mistake of ripping his clothes off while being inside of him, she was able to grab her while she was doing that. And then that's how they kind of wrangle Turbo Granny.
Now she is like a little part of a scarf on him. And as they're like, oh shit, okay, we've got to hold this. And then the fucking crab, the gigantic crab, like the fucking Kool-Aid man, the location bound spirit is like, it's time to fucking party, and breaks through the wall and like starts chasing after them. They run again. And it becomes now the race has started, the real race. They kind of get back together and she's like, hey, you can transform. Like, I can help you. You can only do this a couple times, but you just need to run. Grabs Turbo Granny and helping Okaroon transform into the Turbo Okaroon or whatever you want to call it. What would we call that? I'm sure they'll make a name for it at some point. So they're running and he's like just monotone talking. And he's like, Momo, you're kind of heavy. Like, I can't take this turn up ahead. And she's like, what the fuck did you just say to me? Like, you don't say that. And they go to take the turn. He fucks up. They fall. And it's like they start having to run through buildings, running through the crowds of people. And people, obviously, they can't see these curses or spirits. I just fucking JJK'd it up. My bad. So they can't see the crab. So they think it's just like an explosion. And Momo comes up with the idea to go into the arcade, and then it ends up turning into an onsen. And she grabs the pipes of the onsen and tries to cook the crab so that it can't clamp its hands.
So they escape the crab. The crab gets boiled, so the muscles are tightened, so it can't move. Mm-hmm. And then from there, Momo tells Okaroon to full throttle again and to trust her. They start running, and then Momo uses her psychic powers now to help direct Okaroon as he's running.
Grappling like Spider-Man with these hands. And he's running full force. They're helping each other. He's on her back, or she's on his back. They're able to get a good distance away, but the crab ends up kind of catching up. They get thrown in the air, and she like starts talking to Okaroon like normal, like they're doing it. And then he like de-transforms, and he's like, we're like 80 miles into the sky. This is not looking good for our heroes. Can you fucking do something? But then she spreads her spirit arms out like wings to try and like break the fall. And right before they're going to hit the ground, he turns back. He is able to save them from the detrimental fall that they were going to have. And in the landing, they are almost to the edge of town. They're super close. And they both are totally exhausted. Okaroon is like, I can't transform again. She's like, we have to just make it right over there. The crab and now Granny combine because Momo lets go of the curse of the Turbo Granny. They combine. They're gonna just fucking murder a Momo and an Okaroon. Momo is like, I'm gonna fucking try and save us. Grabs Okaroon, reaches up with her spirit hand and grabs onto the train to catapult themselves onto the top of the train. They land on the top of the train and she's like, dude, trains go 20 kilometers per hour, 75 miles an hour in freedom units. And Turbo Granny can only run 100 kilometers an hour, but trains are not at full speed all the time. And finally, they catch up to Momo and Okaroon. They're dead. It's over. It's Jover, but they're making it to the end. And as they're making it to the very end of the train tracks, where it crosses over to the next town, Momo grabs the crab, Turbo Granny, and takes them across the finish line. And they just like, what would you call it? Like, cause they don't like explode. They just like light on fire.
Momo's grandma was at the end,
yes.
Right? She had the barrier set up. So they basically ran into the barrier going 120 kilometers an hour. And then I guess, yeah, you can say the crab like evaporates. Before they get back, they kind of have that flashback on explaining what Turbo Granny like actually was doing. Because like right now, Turbo Granny was viewed as just evil spirit cursing people. Turbo Granny was trying to comfort young girl spirits that the tunnel that was haunted. Apparently that's where young girls were taken and bad stuff happened and then they were killed. And that's why she had this crazy thing about wieners and biting off wieners and stuff. And then from there, that's where Momo's grandma's like, you know, the dead should never harm the living, but the living should also never mock the dead.
Yeah.
And then that's when they're back at Momo's place. They're having crab. They're just going crazy, fighting over crab pieces. Okaroon is like, what the fuck are you guys doing? How can you eat crab at a time like this?
Yeah.
And then Momo's grandma is just like, hey, you got your wiener back? He's like, yeah. She's like, show me that wiener. I want to see it. And he's like, no, I don't want you to see my wiener. And then they kind of roll around and, hilarity ensues. He never ends up showing his wiener, but he says his wiener is back and everything is good to go. All is right in the world, or so they think. So Okarun gets ready to leave. They get ready to go home because now they assume that Turbo Granny's gone. The adventure has come to an end. And as they're leaving, Okarun says sayonara. When in Japan, like Japanese, that's goodbye, but that's more of something that you say like it's like goodbye.
Like you're never going to see each other. Yeah.
So that's why when he was walking towards the gate, was just thinking like, oh man, I said goodbye. Okay. Okay, I said goodbye.
And she said the same thing. She's like, what the fuck?
But then she called to him and she said,
see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, which is a much more casual goodbye. And then he's like, yep, see you tomorrow. So that ends episode 4.
Episode 5 is like the slice of life, adorable fucking episode that we deserved. After all that we went through, you see Okarun approaching school by himself. He's scared he's going to be alone again. And he wants to talk to Momo, but she's obviously way cooler than he is. He's worried about all these things. He looks around a little bit, but he's mostly looking down. And then he kind of looks up and sees Momo waiting for him at the gate. He walks past her and then she's like, hey, fuckface, I'm here too. And then like grabs him and then they kind of joke around a bit, but they start talking about aliens. They start talking about all the shit they went through and they're having a good time. And they realize they have to split up. She has to go to her class. He has to go to his. And as soon as he gets into class, he starts getting bullied immediately. And she goes into her class and her friends are there. And like everybody's kind of like wants to talk to her. She's been missing. And so you go back to the normal high school tropes. We were in episode 1 where he has no friends. He's not cool. She's the cool one. And it's hard to watch like Okarun go through that again after like all the shit he just went through with like Turbo Granny and his dong. So you see both of them kind of having their internal monologues with themselves. He's just like, dude, the only thing I want to do is talk to Momo. I just want to talk to her about like aliens. And then she's like sitting there in her chair looking out the window and she's like, dude, I just want to talk to Okarun about aliens. And so they're having this moment where they're shared thoughts. And then I thought it was really funny when she starts getting restless and starts like rocking her desk back and forth because she can't talk to Okarun. And so the period ends and they both leave their home rooms and he tries to go through the crowd to her and she tries to go through the crowd to him, trying to see each other. They pass right by each other and then they spend like 5 minutes going around school trying to find each other. They can't find each other. They think they're in the cafeteria. He goes to the cafeteria first. She goes to the cafeteria second after he's going back to her classroom and shit like that. It's just like the classic case of like just barely missing each other by moments and like building up that tension. And so they're both sitting on opposite sides. Break is almost over. They're sitting in the courtyard and he's just like, oh, yeah, she must fucking hate me. And Momo's like, yeah, he must fucking hate me too. And they have the shared thought again. They get up and they're both really sad and they start walking towards the main double doors and run into each other and clack teeth.
Have you done that before?
Run into somebody like that hard?
Have you hit your teeth against
someone? Oh, it's so painful.
And even the sound it made.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, damn.
Awful. Yeah, they fucking nailed it.
They didn't say they hit teeth right off the bat, but when I heard that sound, I was like, oh shit, they just hit each other's teeth.
Yeah.
They were both looking for each other. They were, they obviously were missing each other as they were looking. Momo's girlfriends come out and they're like, oh, you guys were fucking kissing.
Yeah.
And then that's when they both got defensive and were just saying like, I wasn't even looking for you. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then after they storm off, her girlfriends are like, they get along really, really well.
Yeah. It's that awkward, like that social distance of like the hierarchy of high school. Dude, that shit is so awkward. I hated that. Like who's allowed to talk to who and who, but I guess her friends are like, yeah, they're fucking great for each other. And that was pretty funny. Okarun decides, he's like, I said some fucked up shit. I'm going to go up to her classroom and try and apologize and go talk to her.
Well, before that, he goes to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
That's when he realizes that something's wrong. Some things work, but other things don't work.
Yeah.
And then that's when he goes up to Momo's class. And Momo is being teased by all the girls saying that she saw them kiss an otaku, 4 eyes bitch.
Yeah.
And then Okarun comes running in and he's like, dude, Momo, I got to talk to you. it's like really important.
Yeah.
Like we got to talk in private, just you and me, like now. But she's still mad at him from the whole teeth clacking incident and then both being defensive and stuff. And she's just like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. It gets kind of quiet. And he was like, hey, you talked to me all this morning and you don't want to talk to me now. Mm-hmm. Something wrong with me? And she's like, you told me not to talk to you, bitch. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he tells her that all he wants to do is talk to her.
Yeah.
In front of all of her friends.
Yeah, all of her friends.
And all of her friends are on Okarune's side. They're like, damn, boy, like, fucking go get it, dude.
Yeah.
She tells him, like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. And all of her friends are like, damn, that's cold. That guy literally put himself out there for you, and you just told him to get the fuck out?
Yeah.
And that's another, like, high school scary trauma thing. Because, like, I've seen that happen multiple times in high school, where some guy goes up to a girl in class. She's surrounded by her friends.
Yeah.
And then he just rolls up solo.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, you're really pretty.
Yeah.
You know, I really like you a lot. Is there any chance that we can go, like, get coffee after school or something?
Yeah.
And then you have to sit there and basically watch the girl just turn this poor dude down in front of like, all of her friends and the entire class. And I'm just like, good for you, dude, for like fucking gathering the courage to do it. But also at the same time, I'm just like, yeah, you probably should have thought the plan through a little bit more. Just like a little bit.
Yeah. He leaves. He's dejected. He's super upset. Put his whole heart out there. Momo just fucking curb stomp that motherfucker. And he bumps into this girl with pink hair who seems so nice. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? He's like, what? Like, I just had this experience with Momo being a total asshole to me. I don't know how to handle this. And this girl's being super nice. And then she touches his arm and he's kind of like, oh my God, this is like a real situation. She actually cares about my well-being for a second. And Momo is like kind of nearby and sees this kind of situation for the second part of it. They split up and then she goes and talks to her friend and she's like, oh, did you see that fucking nerd? Like, he fucking sucks. He won't ever get touched by a girl again. She's probably the hottest girl he's ever going to see and have ever touched in his life. And Momo is like right there watching this girl talk shit about Okarune.
First, she psychic powers a metal wash tub and hits her in the head.
Yeah, psychic powers the wash tub, knocks her the fuck out, and then grabs Okarune and it's like, you don't know what you're missing out. Grabs Okarune, walks out, lets her know that Okarune's actually a catch. Walking on the street and they kind of have like that awkward, like, who's going to really like truly apologize for this situation? Because they're both still really defensive about it. She apologizes. And then he's just like, hey, by the way, my balls are missing. And she's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I'm apologizing here and you're talking about your nuts. Wait. And then they realize the curse still kind of might exist to some extent. And so they run home and let Seiko know that his balls are gone.
And she was like, how the fuck did you not notice you didn't?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, the shaft was there, so I didn't even really think about it. And she was like, stop calling it a shaft like it's big or something. And then she's like, it's probably like a pencil. And Momo was literally just rolling on the ground laughing like the entire time. But they set up this little experiment. And Momo was still just laughing. She's hitting him with a fan.
Yeah.
She has this like paper fan and she's just hitting Okarune. And Momo's just laughing and then gets a little bit serious. And she's like, I think something's in there.
Yeah.
And then they get the little wash tub with the water. She sits him down and she tells Momo, like, I need you to look at it when I do this. She gets serious and she's like, oh, I saw something. And then Seiko's like, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And when I do it, you have to grab it.
Yeah.
And then they have the lucky cat with a talisman next to it. Mm. And she's like, when I hit him, you have to grab the spirit and then launch it into the talisman, basically.
Yeah. I don't think they thought that far ahead.
She hits him. She grabs it. The talisman burns. Mm-hmm. And then it's funny because like the cat then just like starts sweating and then slowly just like looks up at all of them.
Yeah.
And then they realize that it actually worked. And then now they're running around trying to chase this fucking lucky cat around the house. But luckily, Momo can see the aura through the walls and they find it inside of the closet.
We find out Turbo Granny is not gone. She, at the last moment, stole Okarune's nuts, hid them away somewhere, and kind of was waiting inside his body to restore her power so that she could do some shit again. And so she's like talking mad shit while she's the cat. It's It's kind of adorable because you got like a shit talking cat. And we finally realize what the cat is at the end of the show when they're doing the outro. They have like the little white cat, like using the hair dryer on its face. It's Turbo Granny. It's Turbo Granny adapting to normal life.
Okarun gets mad because Turbo Granny says, "You're not going to find your balls if you kill me. So if you go into the kitchen right now, you go get a fucking knife and you stab these two broads, I'll return your nuts." And then he gets pissed because obviously he's not going to fucking kill them. So then he turns into his emo phase. Mm-hmm. And then that's when they realize that the curse is still in Okarun, but Turbo Granny's consciousness is in the doll. And they kind of explain it when Seiko was hitting him with the fan. Turbo Granny was holding on so tight to Okarun that she didn't want to get separated. When she finally did get ripped off, only her consciousness left, but her power stayed in Okarun. So now basically Okarun gets the power of the curse, but isn't controlled by Turbo Granny, but he still has a dick and no balls.
A dick and no balls. So the next journey is finding Okarun's balls.
Momo basically leveled with Turbo Granny. She was like, "I know you were helping those girls. You're not like completely evil. So how about this? You return the balls, we'll return your power, call it even, good to go." And Turbo Granny is like, "I agree. That is a great idea. But I dropped the balls and I have no idea where they are." That's how episode 5 ends.
Yeah.
So now you'll just have this wacky cast of characters on the quest for Okarun's balls.
Yeah. What a great show. I mean, realistically, like this story has been pretty like concise. There's not a lot of characters. Like when you were watching, let's say Bleach, you get introduced to a lot of characters very quickly. And then it kind of tapers off. You have like a plateau where they don't introduce more characters and then they introduce the big bad. This one, you're almost introduced to the big bad or what you think is the big bad in the very beginning. And now you have these 5 characters, basically 4. Turbo Granny, Granny Seiko, Momo, and Okarun. So like, that's it. And we've followed them for 4 episodes and it's been packed the whole time. Or 5 episodes.
Which is nuts, right? Yeah, because you have 5 episodes, 4 main characters. Like, yeah, they introduced Momo's girlfriends and stuff.
They're there, but you don't find out their names.
If you look at something like Failure Frame, like in the first episode,
in the first 2 minutes,
you have this giant roster of characters. So much so that they literally have to put their names on the screen as they're talking.
And also, they keep doing that for the show, for the duration of the show. So whenever they show them without saying their names, they have to tell us who they are. They do that in the manga as well. They showed all these characters. They fucked up with that. I mean,
in Failure Frame, the very first episode, when they see the goddess and they get isekai, it's the first like 5 minutes of episode 1. And at that point, they introduced 11 characters in like the first 5 minutes. But then you have 5 episodes of DANDADAN and they only introduced 4 characters.
What's also crazy about Failure Frame and these introductions, like those characters aren't in the next 10 episodes. The grand majority of them. You get introduced to all these characters. It's like an instant overload. And then they're just not there. And then you're watching Memori go around. And it's like kind of like this jarring experience the whole time because you're divided between 2 different storylines. This storyline is like concise and it's digestible and you're not overloaded. It's just fun. It's like a fun fucking show.
DANDADAN is, I think, the series this season, at least for me, this is kind of what I'm looking for in a big anime.
Me too. This is it.
I'm watching a bunch of other stuff like 2.5 Dimensional Seduction. Like, I still love it. I still think that's like a great show, but I don't think it's on the level of DANDADAN. Same with like Demon Lord, fucking Goodbye Dragon Life, Ranma, Miss Servant, ReZero, 365 Days to the Wedding, Danmachi Season 5. Like all of those, it's like they're good and I'm glad that they're there. But DANDADAN is the one that I feel like I've been searching for this.
Yeah.
When I look at recommendation lists and I want to watch something, like this is what I'd want to see at the top.
Yeah. What I would recommend is Full Metal Alchemist. Probably. FMA Brotherhood would be like on the top of my recommendation list.
I think if you asked me like a while ago, I probably would have said the same thing. I think after watching so much anime now, I've really taken like a second thought on what a recommendation actually means. To me, it's not like the starting place of anime. Like if you've never watched anime before and someone asks you like what you should watch, oh, you have to watch this because it's like a classic. Everyone loves this one. This is great. To me, it's really finding that curated recommendation for the person that is asking it. So now if someone like us asked, you can start with Fullmetal Alchemist. You can do the 2003 or you can do Brotherhood. I don't care. I think that would be a good starting point. But then if you ask someone that's never seen anime before, then to me, it's kind of like, what do you like? Like, what have you done in your life that you can relate to? And if it's like a military man or someone that was in like the Navy or the Army or like understands military stuff, it's like, okay, I mean, Full Metal Alchemist could work because you do have the different colonels and stuff.
And Roy Mustang's the best. Yeah, I know.
You also can start with like 86 or something like that. An anime that isn't even seen on like the top 100 lists.
Yeah.
But for me, if that is the personality that you have, that would be a good curated response for that person in general.
What was the gambling anime on Netflix? Kakegurui. Like that type of show is something that I wouldn't never be able to recommend to somebody that hasn't watched anime before. You know what I mean? But that's like something that's on Netflix right now.
If you have never seen anime and you just go onto Netflix and you click the anime section, you're just kind of like, what the fuck am I going to watch?
Yeah.
It was either Michael B. Jordan or John Boyega, Star Wars guy.
Yes.
They did an interview on Hot Ones, and I know that both Michael B. Jordan and John Boyega both like anime.
Yes.
And I can't remember which one said this, but Sean from Hot Ones was like, if you had to recommend an anime to someone that's never seen anime, what anime would you recommend? And I can't remember who said it, but someone said like Attack on Titan. And I'm like, to me, that's a little extreme for someone that has never seen anime before.
Yeah.
You would straight up throw Attack on Titan as like the very first one you're going to break them in without even knowing anything about what their personality is like or their preferences. You're just going to toss it out there
to the wolves.
Get traumatized first episode. Like,
oh no, it's like the third episode that you really get traumatized.
First episode, fucking his mom gets eaten.
Yeah, but yeah, true. I was gonna say when all the kids get fucking riggedy rolled. That was when I was like, oh.
Unless someone came up to me and they were like, I've never seen anime before. I love that feeling of just exponential dread that will never go away. Then I'd be like, okay, Attack on Titan, like you should probably watch that. I think I've moved from recommending what I perceive as like top anime more towards like curating like what would you like as a person.
Damn, Greg, you're wild. It's like someone's like, yeah, I'm really into Housewives, and you're like, Chain Soldier for that one.
Yeah. I like the real Wives in New York, but they don't fight enough. Can you recommend something? I'm like, yes. In fact, I can.
Don't worry.
But then if they're like, I want Real Housewives, but then there's no husband, it's just another wife, and then the wife doesn't know that she likes bondage. And I'm like, gushing over magical girls.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Context is like super important to the recommendation.
Oh my God. And you like bondage. God damn it, Greg.
And I think that's like the real struggle is because like a lot of those lists, like that's what it is. It's kind of like it's a generic list. It's a standardized test.
Yeah.
And we all know that like, yeah, standardized tests arguably work for the majority, but what are you going to do for those people where standardized tests, they don't respond to it? And unless you actually take the time to make a curated recommendation, not just pull something off of like a big list of popular anime, how are you going to expect them to like stay in the anime space if they just watch something that to them is generic?
I agree with that, Greg. That's a really insightful way to look at anime and like continue in the space going forward. You know, like you got the people that you work with. It's like, dude, I'm just in it to watch some cool action scenes or something. It's like, yeah, watch Fire Force or whatever. Like it doesn't fucking matter.
And before we wrap up, moral of the story.
Yeah. Moral story, Greg,
is every experience that you have in life is a story to tell. That experience, when you experience it, may be hard or scary, but after it's over, it's a fun thing to share your experiences with others.
Absolutely.
Don't be scared about smashing your teeth together with another girl. Don't be scared of throwing wash bins on people's heads and getting your balls stolen. Because in the end,
it's a good story.
Years down the road, you're just going to sit with your friends and laugh.
Yeah, 100%. I literally wholeheartedly agree my early 20s was lived by that exact thing. We appreciate you, friends. We will see you in the next one. Greg, say bye.
Goodbye.
You just sayonara our whole fucking peoples.
Sayonara.
Thank you, friends, for checking out the Anime Book Club podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
And if you don't want to miss the next one, follow us on the socials where we announce new episodes, content, and other cool stuff. You can also check out our anime list with our rankings and follow along with what we're currently watching and what we have watched in the past.
All the links are in the description. See you in the next one. Bye!